It's no joke that the body changes after age 40. Suddenly our body makes noises, discomforts are felt where they did not before. We start noticing changes in our body temperature, heart rate, and blood pressure to begin with. Our doctors predicted this might be the time of life we might also experience blood cholesterol and even overweight problems. They were right. Medical reports have bad news and good news for us. If we don't deal with our health concerns constructively now, they will get worse. That's the bad news. The good news is that there's a lot of good and effective information out there to help. Today's video will explain how adding tomato to your diet the right way will help keep your blood pressure from becoming a problem. And if it's already high, possibly lowering it. When it comes to lowering blood pressure, if you like and appreciate videos like this, if you don't mind clicking the like button below that looks like this, it will help me and my channel out tremendously. Thanks for doing that. There are also 2 other important steps that you have to take to make sure that you stay on top of your blood pressure situation. And we will cover those 2 because they are equally important. Check this out. I just reviewed a report from the Federal Department of Agriculture that high blood pressure has no definitive warning sign, and that people with high blood pressure don't even know that they have it, which explains why it is the silent killer. But diet plays big time into high blood pressure. I know you've heard this as much as I have. We love salt in our food, but we loved it so much, now it's a problem. And that's not all. We're not eating enough foods rich in potassium. Whether we know it or not, potassium is a vitally important mineral that helps the body function so that high blood pressure does not occur. We're not eating enough of it. What are we doing wrong? According to a reliable government report, 9 out of 10 Americans eat more sodium salt than they need. There is a connection between too much salt and high blood pressure. It is fair to say that our bodies are between 50 and 70% water or liquid. Practically all of our internal functions need water to complete what they do. For instance, water and bodily fluids are needed to help dissolve salt. Or another way of saying the same thing, water down salt. The brain constantly monitors and measures the level of fluids the body needs and doesn't need, especially when it comes to blood pressure. What I'm about to explain is an oversimplification of what happens because of salt, bodily fluids, and their impact on your heart and blood pressure. But when the brain tells the body, let's hold back more fluids than usual, what that means for the heart is more work. There are multiple types of fluids circulating in our bodies, all of them taking up limited space available in the body. As a result, the heart has to pump more vigorously to make sure blood is circulating. And that's not good when it comes to our blood pressure. Being over age 40 and staying healthy is not as easy as it used to be when you and I were younger. So go ahead right now and subscribe to my Self-Made Healthy Eater channel by clicking the word subscribe just below. And always know what to do next. A vicious cycle of events repeat unless we bring it under control by not overdoing it eating salt. So, the more salt in the body, the more fluids needed to dissolve it. The more fluids in your body that the brain says keep around or retain, more likely the risk of your heart pumping vigorously. So what are the definitions of blood pressure and high blood pressure? The force exerted against the walls of your arteries as your heart pumps blood into your body is called blood pressure. Hypertension, on the other hand, is the term used to describe high blood pressure. So what is the solution? That's easy. In our bodies, we have to create an environment for the heart to take care of us, preventing as much as possible the heart from grinding it out by overworking. Remember, we're now age 40 and over. It's common for us to have periods when high blood pressure occurs. That requires us keeping our intake of salt to a teaspoon amount or less. That's equal to 2,325 milligrams. Turns out the body does not need much salt. Here's what surprised me. Salt is only one source. 70% of the salts that we eat often comes from packaged and prepared foods. Foods we purchase from stores or from eating out at traditional sit-in restaurants. And of course, takeout meals ordered at fast food restaurants. Next, remember to measure your blood pressure 2 times a day. Privately measuring your blood pressure is sometimes called home monitoring. But that's not all. It's important to remember to increase eating foods high in potassium. It helps to lower blood pressure by balancing out the negative effects of salt. There are a lot of good foods out there that are rich in potassium for you to enjoy. That brings us to the tomato. Not being a medical professional or dietitian, I was so glad to almost find unanimous agreement about the usefulness of tomatoes when it comes to blood pressure. Though we think of a tomato as a vegetable, it's actually a fruit. 1 cup of tomatoes contains up to 400 milligrams of potassium. The general understanding of physicians and dietitians is that we eat a variety of food groups whose nourishment of the potassium mineral equals between 3,500 and 4,700 milligrams per day. That's not as much as it sounds. That's equal to a 3/4 teaspoon and almost 1 teaspoon. Though Americans on the average eat 2,640 milligrams per day, tomatoes have the numbers to contribute significantly. It's fair to say that a tomato is a power food if one could ever be labeled that. So don't delay taking these 2 actions. Purchase a blood pressure monitor. They're affordable. Monitor your blood pressure 2 times a day. Your healthcare provider can recommend what will be good for you. And consider eating a half a cup of tomatoes each day, which is recommended. They supply nutrients that allow chemical processes in our bodies to go into motion. During my mid-age 50s, I jumped on the eating healthy bandwagon. It took a few months for me to commit. My taste buds needed more time to get used to the less sweetened, less salt-flavored taste of plant-based foods. To be honest, my mind said stick with it, but my heart and taste buds were not happy.
This stuff tastes horrible.
But I hung in there and things turned around. Today, when my taste buds taste sugar and salt, they warn me to stay away. My brain, it screams at me. What are you doing? Before I made that decision, I was a fast food junkie and ate out at restaurants all the time. I never checked my blood pressure, exercise some, but I don't like working out at gyms, even though I have a membership. So when my doctor told me that my blood pressure was elevated, that was news to me. Back then, my blood pressure levels were 120 something over 80 something. Just so that you're tracking with me, the first number is my systolic rating, which measures my blood pressure when my heart beats. The second number is my diastolic rating, which measures my blood pressure between heartbeats. One night I was shopping at a well-known national pharmacy store and noticed that they offered a free blood pressure check. My blood pressure read 110 over 70. The pharmacy tech looked at me and said, "Why are you worried? Your blood pressure levels are great." So, with my blood pressure levels no longer a worry, I became overconfident. Started slacking on eating healthy. Back then I ate tomatoes every day, but that even dropped to maybe twice a month. I still did not eat at sit-down restaurants like I used to, which saved me a few dollars, but ordering fast foods on the run increased. After a while I stopped thinking about my blood pressure. As the years progressed, I noticed that my blood pressure levels increased. At the end of last year, I visited my doctor for a checkup. My blood pressure increased to 127 over 85, which is worse than normal. That got my attention. Though I was eating healthier than everybody around me, I was eating healthy when it was convenient. So here's what I did. First, I stopped adding table salt to my food. Cold turkey. It took some time getting used to eating foods not flavored with added salt, but I did it. Every other day I ate 6 cups of fruits, all of it as smoothies, which I still do. On alternate days I ate 6 cups of vegetables, all of it smoothies as well. I'm not a vegetarian. Back then I ate meat and seafood, still do. And not more than a half a cup a day, and I don't cheat. Oh, and I almost forgot, this is important. I bought an auto-wrist blood pressure monitor to check my blood pressure every day, twice a day. Yesterday it read 105 over 63. This morning it read 109 over 68. The blood pressure chart says that is normal. The pharmacy tech I mentioned earlier, he would have said, that is great. So go ahead and click that like button for the YouTube algorithm. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And as always, if you like videos just like this, go ahead and click subscribe if you have not already. And remember to eat healthy by being a self-made healthy eater. See you next time.